Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Head On. It's the season of Remembrance, with Remembrance Day coming up, and a key part of Remembrance Day, as we all know, is the Royal Canadian Legion. But how much do you really know about what it is that the Legion does, how they were founded, and how they've managed to stay very current and reinvented themselves over 90 years here in Canada? I'm very pleased to have on set tonight two members of the local Legion Branch 256 here in Nanaimo, and we have Achim Sen, who's the president of Local 256, and Colonel Richard Stasiuk, who's also a member of that branch. So gentlemen, thank you so much for coming tonight. You look lovely in your Legion uniforms. It's a pleasure to have you here on set, and we're honored to have you here. And talk about the good service that the Legion does here in the community that really builds the fabric of our community here in Nanaimo and the Central Island, and also across Canada. I was really impressed to read that there's over 300,000 volunteers as members of the Legion, and that there's 1,800 branches across Canada. And you go to any small town, travel anywhere in Canada, and you'll always see a Legion on the corner somewhere. So what is it about this organization that makes it such a cornerstone here in our communities? We're going to talk about that tonight. But first, Achim, tell me a little bit about your background and your involvement with the Legion.
Well, I've been the president of this particular branch for the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. I have, in my younger days, was a cadet, been going to Legions most of my life, and I'm a 5-year member of this particular branch.
And president of this particular branch as
That's
well.
Correct.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good for you. And Colonel Stasiuk, tell us a little bit about your involvement with the Legion as well as your service to our country.
Okay, first of all, in the Canadian Forces, I served 36 years. And upon retirement, I then served another 18 years in the Royal Canadian Legion in various executive positions, such as being a past president of Branch 256 for 6 years. So that's why I'm retired.
And how many years have you been retired, Colonel?
Well, I'm still a life member of Branch 256, but as you can see, Achim keeps pulling me in from time to time to do different jobs.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about a brief history about the Legion, and who is your membership currently? Because, you know, 90 years, that's a long period of time. A lot of our veterans are getting very old and have left this earth. How do you stay so viable, and what is the makeup of your current membership?
Well, at the moment, you know, our membership, we have many veterans, but that demographic is changing. Mm-hmm. More and more, we have associate members, affiliate members, mm-hmm. as well as we have some non-affiliate members, which are non-voting affiliate members, which are persons that are not Canadian citizens.
Okay.
So we have a variety of various different people. The veterans, it would be nice if we would have more, but you know, that's the way things are going. And you'll find, I'd say, probably 60% of the members now are associate members, which have either ties with other areas, such as family members and cadets, as I am, and things like that.
And it's not just for military veterans as well. It's the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, are also members of the Legion. So it's those that have served, and also their families and people that support them can also become members. And the only requirement is that you're a Canadian citizen or landed immigrant?
In order to be a member, you need to be a Canadian citizen of legal age, and or a serving veteran in another country. And we have very few of those. I will say.
Yes.
But anyone can be a Legion member. Our mission statement, as far as the Legion is concerned, is to serve veterans, which includes currently serving military and RCMP members and their families, to promote remembrance, and to serve our communities and our country.
Very noble mission statement, yes. And Colonel, what was the purpose or the mission of the Legion for being formed in the first place? A little bit about that background.
Okay, the main reason was that it started off in England back in 1925, and that was to look after the veterans from the First World War. And then eventually it gravitated over to Canada, and we're now affiliated with that, and we felt it was a good thing to look after our veterans and dependents. So, and then later on it's expanded to include the RCMP, their families, and then we're looking at first responders like ambulance people, firefighters, etc., like that.
Very inclusive, yes.
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about what kind of services that you do provide veterans, what kind of support. I know there's housing issues, mental health issues with PTSD, that type of thing. Is that still a lot of what you do in providing support to veterans? Or
Our primary
financial?
objective is to provide support for veterans, and we do a lot of that locally. You mentioned PTSD, or we support PTSD training, and facilitation for those that are involved. There are numerous things. We have a veteran transition program that helps veterans get into the job world after being veterans.
that transition period must be very difficult, coming back to civilian life for a veteran, I would think. So bridging that would be a very important
Well, that's
goal.
one of the biggest concerns that veterans have is that once, and we must start with the Canadian Forces, that if an ill or injured person is released from the forces, usually it's very premature and they haven't really settled any claims, or it's not in focus with the Department of Veteran Affairs. And so they end up on the street.
Yes, homelessness with veterans.
Homelessness, and that's another issue with veterans today. But the other thing with the Canadian Forces, to make a claim with Department of Veteran Affairs, the Canadian Forces insist that the individual must prove that his claim is a result of military service, not that the Canadian Forces will support it. So the issue, the whole responsibility is on the individual, and there is your problem.
And what an onerous thing to have to prove. And I'm sure the paperwork on something like that would be just horrendous to have to go through, because the burden of proof is on the veteran to prove that, not the Canadian military.
That is correct. And
Wow.
that's why a lot of the time people, veterans with PTSD,
Yes,
have a terrible time trying to complete the paperwork
yes.
and do the claim issues and all of that sort of stuff, because it just is too much for them.
And that's how they fall through the cracks.
And they fall through the
Yes.
cracks. And now the current Minister of National Defense and, of course, the Minister of Department of Veteran Affairs have promised they're going to implement a smooth transition program, but so far the veterans haven't quite seen it.
Yes, Unfortunately, those wheels move very, very slowly. My father was a Juno Beach veteran, and later in life there was some paperwork that we had to do as well for him. And he had children that could help him navigate that, because the paperwork process was like 6 times harder than ever filling out any Revenue Canada form. And for somebody, you know, in their elderly years to have to go through that process is very daunting. So congratulations to people like you here at the Legion to help guide people through that process. Talk to us a little bit about whatever other community services that you do provide at your Legions. A little bit more about that.
Okay, we go into the seniors drop-in services. We provide that, and assistance, and then also Meals on Wheels. We provide assistance for that.
So are you saying Legionnaires will assist with Meals on Wheels, or that the Legion building itself is used as a center for Meals on Wheels?
Normally what we do is we provide donations.
Okay.
And for example, funds to individuals to get their Meals on Wheels and so on like that. It depends where the requirement is.
Very good.
Then we look after the elderly and the disabled. We provide for them. And particularly in veterans, which is our main focus, is we look after their requirements and their families, also their medical requirements, things of that nature, because quite often when they have claims submitted to Department of Veteran Affairs, it is so long in coming to a proper conclusion that they really need, a lot of times, the money right now. And this is where they come to people like President Achim's branch and say, could you provide us with some money?
Some bridging.
Bridging.
That's wonderful. So Achim, how are you funded?
Well, when it comes to veterans, we're funded by our Poppy campaign, our yearly Poppy campaign. Those things, we rely on donations from the community. Most of the money that comes from that goes to local veterans and their needs, their families, their and just to add to on what Dick was saying earlier about our service officer deals with the veterans when they are in need, and when they're in dire need, they come to us and we can process something almost immediately. In fact, this year we had a veteran who had an emergency situation within 3 hours. He had the funding from the Poppy Fund to assist his life.
That's wonderful. So 100% of the local donations for the poppies stays here in the Central Vancouver Island area. Is that correct?
100% of the Poppy donations goes to veterans' needs. Some of the donations go to programs that include local, such as the Veterans Transition Program and PTSD research and development, and the PTSD dog program. For instance, you had mentioned homeless vets, Cockrell House, which is in Colwood, BC, down near Victoria there. There's a living room place there specifically designed for homeless vets to transition them and help them with their needs and things like that. So some of those things, some of the local Poppy Fund money goes to those programs, but it is accessible for our local veterans and their families.
But then, Elizabeth,
Yes.
there's another aspect of our donating monies. So Poppy monies is for the veterans. Okay. Now, in addition to that, internally within the branches, they have their own functions and events that they raise money, like 50-50 draws, meat draws, and they get funding from the from Victoria, from
From
the
the gaming?
accounts. Now, all of those monies
Yes.
go back into the local community as donations.
Wow.
So, for example, this year, Achim's branch has donated a minimum, has made a minimum donation to 30 different nonprofit organizations in
Wow.
Nanaimo. And a lot
That's
of people don't
fantastic.
realize
No, I
that.
didn't realize that myself. That's wonderful.
And some of those recipients is the Nanaimo Hospital Foundation, the Clay Tree Society. They do fantastic work with, all over, you know, and these are the non-veterans groups that are being serviced, I guess, you know, by our efforts and our operations, and this is 100% within the local community.
Fantastic. What you're giving back, I mean, is just so rich, and it really just helps to build the fabric of our community. So thank you so much for that. And that takes volunteers. So how are you obviously still looking for members to join the Legion? And what would be some of the draws? What would you say to people who are interested in joining the Legion?
Well, the number one thing is absolutely we're looking for members and people who donate or people who want to volunteer. But the big thing is that we are serving the veterans, we are serving the community, we are serving our country. You know, to help all of these things. It's a noble cause, and you know, it's open, like I said, to anyone who is of age, Canadian citizen. Anyone can join, and they will be very welcome.
And there's a lot of really good information on your website on legion.ca. That's a national site, but it also goes to the local groups. There's all kinds of information on there on how to become a member. You can look up the local branches from there. It's a really rich website, and it talks about the advocacy work that you as Legionnaires do as well, which is really important for the veterans and their families. Really important for veterans and the families. I don't think people who haven't been there aren't aware of just what a huge service that is that you do provide, because that's a very tough area to navigate for people, all the bureaucratic things that they have to jump through. And so you folks with your advocacy really do help. So,
See, and the other thing too is that we go back to our mission statement, that in other words, we do acts of remembrance. And for example, we're moving into the November the 11th, where we have the Armistice Parade downtown at the local cenotaph in Nanaimo. And of course, with us is Branch 10, okay? And because in Nanaimo we have 2 legions, and therefore we do that. And then on top of that, during the year, we do Battle of Britain and the Vimy Ridge, and so on like that. So we do a lot of that acts of remembrance. So we come back to, if you want to become a member, then please join, because it's part of remembering those that have gone before us.
absolutely.
And a lot of them laid down their lives.
You did. The ultimate sacrifice.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a way to honor them, to thank them, and to remember them, and to keep that legacy alive.
Great.
And
Yeah.
your youth connection as well is helping to build the foundation for the Legion to continue with the younger generation. Talk to us a little bit about some of the youth programs that you have, including the art and literacy contests that you have, which I think are quite quite lovely.
You can handle that one.
Well, I'll give you the arts and literary contest part. We actually, in our particular branch, we have a lot of programs that we're working on for youth. One of them, of course, is the cadets. We involve the cadets.
And that's Air Cadets and Sea
Air
Cadets.
Cadets, Sea Cadets, you know, various branches, you know, have their particular cadet corps that will, you know, service that branch and things like that.
Achim, approximately how many cadets do we have here in Nanaimo? Any idea? in the hundreds?
Right now, I would say about 250.
Wonderful, 250.
And that includes, that's the HMCS Amphion, which is
Yes.
Sea Cadets,
Sea Cadets.
JP Bell Sea Cadets, and then we have the Army Cadets, and we have the Air Cadets, and then we also have St. John Ambulance Cadets. And Achim's branch provides funding for each of these units for uniforms and to help in their training so that it brings up the youth. In addition to that, what they, in return, we bring the youth in our Poppy campaign that we hold every year. And so, for example, at the North Town Center, we have the Sea Cadets, HMCS Amphion, and the JP Bell Cadets supporting that on weekends during the
Wonderful.
campaign.
Yes, they're
And
very
then-
visible out
yeah,
there.
and then the Air Cadets will be doing the same thing.
Wonderful.
And do you know that the time we get the most donations is when we have the cadets out?
See, we can't resist anybody in uniform. That's it. It's wonderful to see these young people out there doing the Poppy campaign, though. I mean, it's wonderful leadership skills that they're learning. They're learning to interact with all kinds of people from all levels of society. And I think it's wonderful to see that youth connection with the Legion as well. But tell us a little bit about the art and literacy program that people might not know about.
Arts and literacy, what happens is every year there is a bundle of correspondence sent to each of the schools in the districts, and they are invited to encourage students to make posters, and that's one aspect of it. And the other aspect of it is literature in terms of doing a poem.
Very nice.
And then the various schools, what they do is they then submit their items to their nearest Legion branch, who then, the Legion branch then sets up a committee to adjudicate and determine which is the best of each of the three, be it arts or be it literature. And then after that, it then goes to
The provincial level?
not provincial, but to a zone level. Like in our zone, we have 11 legions.
Right.
And therefore, they then hold a committee meeting and then do a reanalysis and vetting it. And then it goes provincially. Then after provincially, it goes to Dominion, and out comes the outcome.
Wonderful. So there'll be, first prizes for the poetry or poems,
Yes.
and also for the art posters.
Well,
and
in a lot of the legions, a lot of the Legion branches, what they do is when they do select like 3 winners for the arts and 3 winners for the poem, like first, second, third, then they provide a little prize too,
wonderful.
you see, out
Yeah.
of their own funding.
Yeah.
And so
Great.
same thing with Achim's branch. They do the same thing.
You should see the faces on these young people when they're involved. They're very, very interested, and it's all veteran related. The themes of their arts and literature, and some of these kids are just doing amazing.
That's so nice to see how those seeds are planted then for these young people to, again, thank, honor, and remember the veterans that, paid the price and served, and some paid the ultimate price, as we mentioned, for the freedoms that we all have, for the freedoms they have to write those poems and do the artwork. So,
Well, you see, in addition to that, the schools in our particular community, they have their remembrance ceremonies in school for all of their students.
wonderful.
And so from time to time, a school will invite the branch to send a representative, and then we would attend their ceremony as a veteran, and that. So we have a lot of support from the schools in our community, and makes one very heart-rendering.
It It's very heart-rending. And you'll be out for the Remembrance Day parades again on November 11th, marching with all those cadets. And I just want to encourage our viewers to get out and support the Poppy Campaign. The Poppy Campaign runs from the last Friday in October up until the 10th of November, and the 11th is set aside to thank, remember, and honor our veterans. So, gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us this evening. It's been a pleasure to have you here in the studio and learn some of the layers about the Legion that a lot of us probably didn't know about. So thank you very much for your service to our country and to our community, for the community building that you're doing, and I look forward to seeing you in the parade on Remembrance Day. So thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Elizabeth.
And thank you for joining us here. If you have any comments or questions or topics for Head On, you can email our executive producer, Melissa Hall, with her email there. And thank you for joining us this evening, and we will see you again in another edition of Head On.